I really noticed the importance of being able to give you guys some of those really big ideas, but also some of the things that I believe to be the most simple, genius truths that everyone needs in their life. Now, we are in a world where there's no question about it that, the dating issue, male-female dynamics are completely deteriorating and falling apart in every single dimension possible. And this isn't just because it's men and women, it's because it's mankind collectively. Now, being able to accept and embrace this is going to actually set you apart from everyone else. And I need you to be able to accept that that's what's going to happen in your life if you are pursuing something outside of what's being presented to you. Meaning, if you are living for a dream, if you are living to bring in these desires, if you're looking to live a fulfilled life, if you're looking to live as somebody who can be them, well then, here, I would like to say welcome home. Because this is the only place that I know that is going to teach you the things and give you the education that you never got. I noticed this because in my life, I was given the education that nobody ever got. And that's because I was gifted, an extraordinary man with extraordinary circumstance, and I know that. That gave me the ability to realize that you have the very same things in your life, but you have a narrative that's told to you that you can remain being this victim. And that very thing exists in many more dimensions than just you feeling sorry for yourself. It exists, it's because it's a form of immaturity. And that kind of immaturity creates a lack of awareness to the very things that you need to be deeply aware about, right? So there's a lot of reality that you need to face. And I want this to make this very clear here. If you want to have a loving, meaningful, powerful relationship, if you want to feel like you can have anything in your life that's successful, then you will accept pain. Now, how do you know something's real? I loved using the movie The Matrix. It's been an analogy that's been really running through a lot of my coaching recently, and it's been something I really want to wake you guys up to. I know it's a really tripped out film already, and I'm already a tripped out dude. I'm probably going to make it more than it needs to be. No, the truth is, storytelling is simple. The storytelling of that is quite simple. It's very relevant, and it's about people waking up to the reality of their life. So there's going to be three components I'm going to talk about today, and these three things are going to tie directly into what I'm talking about right here. Truth, meaning the part of you that discovers something that is objectively true, that allows you to be set free, the very connection of it being the thing that allows you to create progress in your life. That sense of progress creates fulfillment, happiness, connection, and all of the things that you seek. Confrontational ability. Now, another word for this is called courage. The reason why I say this is because if you want to maintain anything of value, you're going to need to have the ability to confront the very things that you intuitively feel are popping up in your life. Now, the last one, and I feel like this goes without any consideration and any exception, awareness. I'm sure you've met people that have one or two of those things, and you start losing your mind until you realize that if they're missing three, they absolutely suck. I love the truth, the universe and all of these crazy deep things, and if there's a problem, I get down to the bottom of it. But then the second they show you they have no awareness that they're actually a raccoon, and they aren't aware of their dark characteristics and all of the things that they keep in the shadows because they keep denying the very fact that there are parts of them that they have to face. And by the way, the more that you have to stare into the void, you just stare back into yourself. And I said it's a void. I didn't say it's a beautiful sunshine and rainbow dandelion orgy. No, it's a very thing that is going to scare the absolute shit out of you. And I noticed you can live life in two ways, and I really wanted to share this story because this story has changed my life, because it's the story of the education that no one gets that I got that made me realize I'm an outlier. Okay, those three things make you a what? An outlier. Why do they make you an outlier? Because guess what? This should be the rule, right? Say the truth. Hey, I want to show up at this time. Follow through. That sounds like a basic human code, right? How about this one? You have a problem? Let's get down to the bottom of it. Oh, you're afraid of me? Well, that's exactly what makes this confrontation. You're trusting it too. And then the last one, awareness. Oh my God, your own behaviors, what you are, who you are, how it affects people, what exactly this all means. Like, you have to be able to accept that if you have those three things, you are an outlier in every relationship you interact with. I didn't even get into values, attraction, vision, personality. But those, because I promise you, if you don't understand the value of these, you're going to give people more credit than they deserve if they have these. Now, how bad is the current situation we are in? Let me tell you how bad it is. 99% of people lack this. And okay, that'll make you an outlier. And I'll tell you why, because 99% of people lack a truthful foundation that gives them the tools necessary to face an unforgiving reality. But here's what I want to tell you is you guys all have it in you. If you're alive and you have the breath of life in you, you have it. You can find it. It calls to you. You just turn away. Because guess what? You feel like you're crazy. You feel like you're too much. You feel like the very investigation of that thing would create a catastrophe. So you take the blue pill. We have our wake-up calls. Wake up to what? Reality. What do we see when we wake up? Good question. Well, you wake up and you see that you live in a world where the sun is gone. People live thousands of miles underground. They have to hide from the very thing that gives them life. You have these robots that farm you. And not only do they farm you, they feed you a fantasy. And that fantasy keeps you dormant and sleeping as your life force diminishes. Okay, did I tell you the story of the Matrix? Or the fact that this is actually a reality of most people living now? They live that way. And of course, there will be very few select people who believe in the truth. Okay, you know what that fucking means? That means wake up from the very thing that's keeping you dormant that is just good enough for you to not challenge it. It's just enough for you to believe it. And it's like, well, you need to be one of a kind, right? The Neo. So you face this and you go, I need to realize the importance of challenging the reality that I'm in, because if not, then this is all there is, and I'm not very connected to that. And by the way, you're entitled to say that, but if you're gonna say that, search for more. And so there's this deep desire for truth we all have, because that desire for truth is the same desire for play. It's like we want to play in our lives, and you can't really do real play if there isn't truth. I used to feel crazy for these things. I used to feel crazy for my upbringing. I used to feel crazy for having things that most people never have. And you know, it wasn't because I had a lot of money or I grew up with a lot of that or as I had a lot of friends. It's like, no, because I had the one thing that a lot of people lack nowadays, and it will make you look fucking insane. It's called a truthful foundation. A foundation by which you have a connection to God. Now, most people's definition of God is Mickey Mouse or Butler in the sky, or the guy that fulfills all of the things that I want, and as long as I say his name, he'll give me those things. So you ever think about the absolute disconnect that we have from our lives? And it's like, you really want to know how you woke up? What you see makes you want to go back. You know, you want to find God? Find the most unforgiving, dark, twisted, Nazi, gulag, concentration camp, genocide, species that you can identify, and find a world where the very chances of you surviving are so small. And then once you find that, and you find this pit of despair of where you would never imagine that there would be anything light here, that's where you find God. Because it's a very miracle that you can be able to experience that and not fall apart. So you need to be the one that goes through the doors in your life. Nobody can bring you through those doors. You're also going to love this. You cannot have anyone help you face parts of yourself that you're not willing to face for you. It's difficult to realize that. You're probably sleeping, even when you're listening to this, because you realize there are so many things in your life that you need to face. The current surrounding that you're in, the lack of awareness you have of even your, quote, messy room, using Jordan Peterson's analogy. You have so many things in your life that you are asleep that surround your very current. And you talk about this land outside of what your current dumpster is, you call your life. I'm sorry to break it to you. You work for that very thing, but you need to be able to wake up to realize how vulnerable and susceptible you are. And so, just as you thought it was bad enough, you have to be able to wake up a sleeping people, because the rest of the people, there's a very small percentage of them, they have to live underground, because, you know, if you kind of come up to the surface, that's where all of the robots are. And so we're trying to survive from this very thing that's stopping us so that we can go back to it. Just when you thought that was bad, let me put a little cherry on top. The worst possible conceivable thing is each other. So you mean the thing that I need to be the most vulnerable with, to connect with, to have, even in this world where we're so alone and isolated against such a big opposition, I have to worry about the people next to me. Well, that was the character Spencer, or Stryker, can't really remember the name. But that's when you realize I woke up to reality. It challenges you. It makes you want to go back to the matrix. It makes you want to go back to the slumber. It makes you want to go back to everything that you know of comfort that keeps you small. You know, when we see reality, you have to be willing to accept it. And I believe that the more that you accept the reality that you see, the more that you can face your greatness. Because I believe the very void that we stare into is the deepest reflection of what we can bring into the world. We aren't just born into that nihilistically. And this is the one belief that I want to shatter for you for the rest of your life, because we're going to start with number one on the big three. And I'm going to give you those things because I pray and dream of a world where every man and woman has this. And by the way, if we had these things, it still wouldn't be a perfect world. It would be a good world. At least I would understand that people would interact with what they need to interact with a level of awareness, because if that awareness is there and there's some truth there, then there's some progress. And then that means it's forgiveness. And if there's forgiveness, well, there's definitely God. And if there's God, well, then that means that there can be goodness. And if there can be goodness, then love for sure is real. And I'm going to give everything that I can for that. And I believe that that's something that we could bring through our very humanity, through the deepest, darkest parts of ourselves that we need to open our eyes to. Oh my God, I'm a monster. Who would look at that? Yeah, somebody who wants to find love would look at that. Somebody who wants to face life would look at that. You know, you want to talk about the story of the Matrix, because it's perfect in this. It's about waking up to horror. It's about waking up to horror that makes you want to go to sleep. And a majority of you guys are the Stryker character from the damn movie. You guys would look at your life, you'd look around and you'd go, you know, the people telling me the truth, to face all of these insecurities, these pains and traumas, fuck them. Okay. You want to realize what that's called? Well, that's called evil. And where does it manifest? It manifests in those in your close proximity who aren't willing to face themselves once they have woken up. And this is for you for the rest of your life. May this never leave your head. If you woke up, you agree to wake up every day and face reality that you need to face. So that leaves us with number two. Your awareness leads to unforgiving, relentless, non-stop confrontation. Oh, that'll change you. That will change you. Because, you know, a lot of the things that you will see will challenge you. And a lot of the things that you will see will make you feel powerless. And there will be the things that you can interact with, and you will feel a lot of insecurity in relationship to just interacting with that, because there's so much more. But you keep coming back to this one value, this one truth. And that one value being search of truth, that one value being truth itself. And you keep coming back to that to then eventually realize that there is this thing called the right thing. And so one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is not the cool Matrix scenes of fightings, even the whole world that they build. It was the world where Neo gets to realize that he's not the one, and that isn't what matters. It's where Trinity realizes that she's in love with a man that's not the one. And it's where everyone realizes that even Morpheus was wrong about what he believed. But it's where they all chose to do the right thing and love with everything that they had, because that was the right thing to do, not because of some prophecy to protect us. This very thing that we connect to, this belief. And I love the one line he said. He's like, I'm doing this because I believe in that belief. That's something that brings us together. That belief that that ideal can exist in the world is exactly what allows us to bring it into the world once we let that go, to show up for our lives, to show up for the right thing. We need to be given that choice. And here's the lesson that I was given when I was 6 years old. I was taken to Paradise Point in San Diego with my father and my whole family, and we go out there every year. It was part of our summer trips that we would have. And he takes me, he doesn't take me to the water. I run up to the water, and as I run up to the water, I notice something like bolt through it. And as I'm looking at the water, I'm like, Dad? And he's like, what's up? Are there sharks in the water? And he goes, yeah, there's sharks in all waters. And I'm like, oh, and I sat down on the bed of the beach with my hands on my face, and I looked at my dad like he betrayed me. And of course, you know, he has so much wisdom. He looks at me with like a loving smile, and he goes, you know, you can be brave. And those words just kept ringing in me, and I was challenged. There was, hey, you know, this whole bravery thing, it's not for me. I'll accept sharks, but bravery, no. Hey, there's a level of awareness. There's truth there. You don't need to face it if you don't want to. But what do you think happens to people that walk away from truth and they know they did? They take a few steps, they turn around, they go, fuck, okay, come on, what you got for me? This I know is good. And so I'm looking at the water, and I look back at my dad, and I remember he gave me those three things. The truth about reality, there will always be sharks. And to anybody who understands anything about sharks, spiders, or snakes, they are the symbols of the unknown. They are the very things that terrify us. The unknown is the most terrifying thing in the whole world. You know, at least a horror that we know isn't as bad as a horror we don't know that we can conceptualize by staring into this thing that we call our soul. You can find some of the biggest horrors that can ever be manifested to only mirror your greatness, because greatness is such a subjective term. You better start getting familiar with where you find it. It's in your wounds. He told me the truth. He gave me the opportunity to be courageous, to be confrontational with life. You know what else he gave me? An opportunity to connect to me. That's the awareness aspect. The awareness isn't so much the fixing process, more than it is the, I see that, I love that, I see this, it terrifies me. Okay, knowing that there will always be sharks in the ocean, yet we swim. There will always be snakes, yet we hike. There will always be death, yet we live. These very truths have seemed to have left our mind. And because they have left our mind is just left with useless information that makes us feel safe, and it's a fantasy that we hold on to that keeps us sleeping. Your very willingness to wake up to the truth is to face the pain of your life. The pain of reality is identifying your vulnerabilities. And if you've grown up over the age of 20 or even your late teens, you've experienced pain in your life. You've experienced betrayal in your life. You've experienced doubt. You've experienced fear. You've experienced insecurity. And if you want to know where all of your greatness lies, it's through an accepting of the pain of your life, and that's for you too. When you could look at that, you could start to connect to it. And when you start to connect to it, the very gifts that you seek were in the void that you feared, that you voluntarily choose to look into. And what surrounds it are going to be your traumas, your insecurities, your fears, and every single insufficiency that you feel about you. And somehow, when you have the courage to face this, you set yourself free in your life. The education that no one gets is common sense. I realize that most people don't say what they mean when they say it. They have no ability to face the things in life that scare them, that have possibilities of rejection, and they have no awareness. I think we have more than an issue. I think we have a humanity crisis, where the very things that we understand to be the foundation that allows us to experience our humanity is the very thing that we lack, because we've given up on the spirit in our humanity. Let's come together. Let's see what it takes. Let's see what it takes from you in order to look reality in the eyes. And I remember the pain of not looking it was far worse than staring right into it and getting a front row seat and accepting everything that my life requires from me for the rest of my life. My life became a very peaceful life. And you know, the video before this was about surrender. And I'll bring that into this video to tie this in together. The life that you seek, the life of peace that you seek, is when you agree to fight constant war. You want to know how God works? He does 100% of the work in your life. You need to make 100% of the choice and accept that you would do 100% of the work.